My dear devotees, welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books, right here in the Haven, which we've established in Hythe, Kent, Southeast England, just a stone's throw from the English Channel. We hope you are all safe and sound and well in this very troubled age we're going through. I'll be 76 in a couple of months, and I tell you, I haven't seen the world in such a state since I've been alive. Well, for as long as I can remember. But this is the solution, to spread the glories of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the fact that it's a history of the universe, the fact that it was written long enough ago that it was impossible for these people to be primitive. So we should hear it's authoritative. The spiritual science it is promoting is the essence of all the Vedas, and it has all the answers to our individual and collective problems of the world today. The Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Mahima Stotram by Srila Sanatana Goswami glorifies this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in a wonderful way. It goes like this. Sarva Shastrabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems, of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Purāṇa Śrīmad-Bhāgavata Prabho Kali Dvandoditaditya Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life heir of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, you are the sun, risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madgudo Mad Mahadana Mad Nishtadaga Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu sadhuta dayin adini chochita kada anamuncha gadachin mam premna rit kantayokspura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, we've reached the 5th chapter of the 3rd canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Viduras Talks with Maitreya. Maitreya is explaining to Vidura, upon his request, the details, or some of the details, a few of the details of the creation of the universe. We're starting with text 43. Vidura is speaking. Maitreya is speaking. O Lord, you assume incarnations for the creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the cosmic manifestation. And therefore we all take shelter of your lotus feet, because they always award remembrance and courage to your devotees. Purport. For the creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the cosmic manifestations, there are three incarnations: Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara, Lord Shiva. They are the controllers or masters of the three modes of material nature, which cause the phenomenal manifestation. Vishnu is the master of the mode of goodness, Brahma is the master of the mode of passion, and Maheshwara is the master of the mode of ignorance. There are different kinds of devotees according to the modes of nature. Persons in the mode of goodness worship Lord Vishnu, those in the mode of passion worship Lord Brahma, and those in the mode of ignorance worship Lord Shiva. All three of these deities are incarnations of the Supreme Lord Krishna, because he is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here, the demigods directly refer to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, and not, so I made a mistake in the beginning. I said that Maitreya was speaking. Maitreya is explaining to Vidura, and he's explaining how it is that at one stage of the creation, the demigods are praying to the Lord that they can't go any further without his help. Returning to the purport. Here, the demigods directly refer to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord and not to those of his different incarnations. The incarnation of Vishnu in the material world is, however, directly worshipped by the demigods. It is learned from various scriptures that the demigods approach Lord Vishnu in the ocean of milk and submit their grievances whenever there is some difficulty in the administration of universal affairs. Although Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are incarnations of the Lord, they worship Lord Vishnu, and thus they are also counted amongst the demigods, and not as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Persons who worship Lord Vishnu are called demigods, and persons who do not do so are called asuras, or demons. Vishnu always takes the side of the demigods, but Brahma and Shiva sometimes take the side of the demons. It is not that they become one in interest with them, but sometimes they do something in order to gain control over the demons. Text 44. O Lord, O Lord, persons who are entangled by undesirable eagerness for the temporary body and kinsman, and who are bound by thoughts of mine and I, are unable to see your lotus feet, although your lotus feet are situated within their own bodies. But let us take shelter of your lotus feet. Purport. The whole Vedic philosophy of life is that one should get rid of the material engagement of gross and subtle bodies, which only cause one to continue in a condemned life of miseries. This material body continues as long as one is not detached from the false conception of lording it over material nature. The impetus for lording it over material nature is the sense of mine and I. I am the Lord of all that survey. So many things I possess, and I shall possess more and more. Who can be richer than I in wealth and education? I am the master, and I am God. Who else is there but me? All these ideas reflect the philosophy of aham mama, the conception that I am everything. Persons conducted by such a conception of life can never get liberation from material bondage. But even a person perpetually condemned to the miseries of material existence can get relief from bondage if he simply agrees to hear only Krishna Katha. In this age of Kali, the process of hearing Krishna Katha is the most effective means of gaining release from unwanted family affection and thus finding permanent freedom in life. The age of Kali is full of sinful reactions, and people are more and more addicted to the qualities of this age. But simply by hearing and chanting of Krishna Katha, one is sure to go back to Godhead. Shall I read that again? But simply by hearing and chanting of Krishna Katha, one is sure to go back to Godhead. Therefore, people should be trained to hear only Krishna Katha by all means in order to get relief from all miseries. Text 45. O great Supreme Lord, offensive persons whose internal vision has been too affected by external materialistic activities cannot see your lotus feet. But those feet are seen by your pure devotees, whose one and only aim is to transcendentally enjoy your activities. Purport. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 1861, the Lord is situated in everyone's heart. It is natural that one should be able to see the Lord, at least within himself. But that is not possible for those whose internal vision has been covered by external activities. The pure soul, which is symptomized by consciousness, can be easily perceived even by a common man, because consciousness is spread all over the body. The yoga system, as recommended in the Bhagavad Gita, is to concentrate the mental activities internally and thus see the lotus feet of the Lord within oneself. But there are many so-called yogis who have no concern with the Lord, but are only concerned with consciousness, which they accept as the final realization. Such realization of consciousness is taught by the Bhagavad Gita within only a few minutes, whereas the so-called yogis take continuous years to realize it because of their offenses at the lotus feet of the Lord. The greatest offense is to deny the existence of the Lord as separate from the individual souls, or to accept the Lord and the individual soul as one and the same. The impersonalists misinterpret the theory of reflection, and thus they wrongly accept the individual consciousness as the supreme consciousness. The theory of the reflection of the Supreme can be clearly understood without difficulty by any sincere common man. When there is a reflection of the sky on the water, both the sky and the stars are seen within the water, but it is understood that the sky and stars are not to be accepted on the same level. The stars are parts of the sky, and therefore they cannot be equal to the whole. The sky is the whole, and the stars are parts. They cannot be one and the same. Transcendentalists who do not accept the Supreme Consciousness as separate from the individual consciousness are as offensive as the materialists who deny even the existence of the Lord. Such offenders cannot actually see the lotus feet of the Lord within themselves, nor are they even able to see the devotees of the Lord. The devotees of the Lord are so kind that they roam to all places to enlighten people in God consciousness. The offenders, however, lose the chance to receive the Lord's devotees, although the offenseless common man is at once influenced by the devotees' presence. In this connection, there is an interesting story of a hunter and Devarshi Narada. A hunter in the forest, although a great sinner, was not an intentional offender. He was at once influenced by the presence of Narada, and he agreed to take to the path of devotion, leaving aside his hearth and home. But the offenders, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, even though living amongst the demigods, had to undergo the punishment of becoming trees in their next lives, although by the grace of a devotee, they were later delivered by the Lord. Offenders have to wait until they receive the mercy of devotees, and then they can become eligible to see the lotus feet of the Lord within themselves. But due to their offenses and their extreme materialism, they cannot see even the devotees of the Lord. Engaged in external activities, they kill the internal vision. The Lord's devotees, however, do not mind the offenses of the foolish in their many gross and subtle bodily endeavors. The Lord's devotees continue to bestow the blessings of devotion upon all such offenders without hesitation. That is the nature of devotees. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Text 46. O Lord, persons who, because of their serious attitude, attain the stage of enlightened devotional service, achieve the complete meaning of renunciation and knowledge, and attain the Vaikuntha Loka in the spiritual sky, simply by drinking the nectar of your topics. Purport. The difference between the impersonalistic mental speculators and the pure devotees of the Lord is that the former pass through a miserable understanding of the absolute truth at every stage, whereas the devotees enter into the kingdom of all pleasures, even from the beginning of their attempt. The devotee has only to hear about the devotional activities, which are as simple as anything in ordinary life. And he also acts very simply, whereas the mental speculator has to pass through a jugglery of words, which are partially facts and partially a make-show for the maintenance of an artificial, impersonal status. In spite of his strenuous efforts to attain perfect knowledge, the impersonalist attains merging into the impersonal oneness of the Brahmajyoti of the Lord, which is also attained by the enemies of the Lord simply because of their being killed by him. The devotees, however, attain to the highest stage of knowledge and renunciation and achieve the Vaikuntha Lokas, the planets in the spiritual sky. The impersonalist attains only the sky and does not achieve any tangible transcendental bliss, whereas the devotee attains to the planets where real spiritual life prevails. With a serious attitude, the devotee throws away all other achievements like so much dust, and he accepts only devotional service, the transcendental culmination. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Text 47. Others, who are pacified by means of transcendental self-realization and have conquered over the modes of nature by dint of strong power and knowledge, also enter into you. But for them there is much pain, whereas the devotee simply discharges devotional service and thus feels no such pain. Purport. In terms of a labor of love and its returns, the bhaktas, or devotees of the Lord, always have a priority over persons who are addicted to the association of jnanis or impersonalists and yogis, or mystics. The word apare, others, is very significant in this connection. Others refers to the jnanis and the yogis, whose only hope is to merge into the existence of the impersonal Brahmajyoti. Although their destination is not so important in comparison to the destination of the devotees, the labor of the non-devotees is far greater than that of the bhaktas. One may suggest that there is great labor for the devotees also in the matter of discharging devotional service, but that labor is compensated by the enhancement of transcendental pleasure. The devotees derive more transcendental pleasure while engaged continuously in the service of the Lord than when they have no such engagement. In the family combination of a man and a woman, there is much labor and responsibility for both of them. Yet when they are single, they feel more trouble for want of their united activities. The union of the impersonalists and the union of the devotees are not on a par. The impersonalists try to fully stop their individuality by attaining sayuja mukti, or unification by merging into oneness, whereas the devotees keep their individuality to exchange feelings in relationship with the Supreme Individual Lord. Such reciprocation of feelings takes place in the transcendental Vaikuntha planets, and therefore the liberation sought by the impersonalists is already achieved in devotional service. The devotees attain mukti automatically, while continuing the transcendental pleasure of maintaining individuality. As explained in the previous verse, the destination of the devotees is Vaikuntha, or Akuntadishnya. Akuntadishnya, the place where anxieties are completely eradicated. One should not mistake the destination of the devotees and that of the impersonalists to be one and the same. The destinations are distinctly different, and the transcendental pleasure derived by the devotee is also distinct from chinmatra, or spiritual feelings alone. Text 48. O original person, we are therefore but yours only. Although we are your creatures, we are born one after another under the influence of the three modes of nature, and for this reason we are separated in action. Therefore, after the creation, we could not act concertedly for your transcendental pleasure. Purport. The cosmic creation is working under the influence of the three modes of the external potency of the Lord. Different creatures are also under the same influence, and therefore they cannot act concertedly in satisfying the Lord. But because of this diverse activity, there cannot be any harmony in the material world. The best policy, therefore, is to act for the sake of the Lord. That will bring about the desired harmony. Text 49. O unborn one, please enlighten us regarding the ways and means by which we can offer you all enjoyable grains and commodities, so that both we and all other living entities in this world can maintain ourselves without disturbance and can easily accumulate the necessities of life, both for you and for ourselves. Purport. Developed consciousness begins from the human form of life and further increases in the forms of the demigods living on higher planets. The earth is situated almost in the middle of the universe, and thus the human form of life is situated between the life of the demigods and that of the demons. The planetary systems above the earth are especially meant for the higher intellectuals, called demigods. They are called demigods because although their standard of life is far advanced in culture, enjoyment, luxury, beauty, education, and duration of life, they are always fully God conscious. Such demigods are always ready to render service to the Supreme Lord because they are perfectly aware of the fact that every living entity is constitutionally an eternal subordinate servitor of the Lord. They also know that it is the Lord only who can maintain all living entities with all the necessities of life. The Vedic hymns confirm this truth. Eko bahunam yo vidadati kaman, ta enam abruvan atayanam na, prajaniti yasmin pratishtita anam adame, etc. Also in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord is mentioned as Bhuta Brit, or the maintainer of all living creatures. The modern theory that starvation is due to an increase in population is not accepted by the demigods or the devotees of the Lord. The devotees or demigods are fully aware that the Lord can maintain any number of living entities, provided they are conscious of how to eat. If they want to eat like ordinary animals who have no God consciousness, then they must live in starvation, poverty, and want, like the jungle animals in the forest. The jungle animals are also maintained by the Lord with their respective foodstuffs, but they are maintained by the Lord, but they are not advanced in God consciousness. Similarly, human beings are provided with food grains, vegetables, fruits, and milk by the grace of the Lord, but it is the duty of human beings to acknowledge the mercy of the Lord. As a matter of gratitude, they should feel obliged to the Lord for their supply of foodstuff, and they must first offer Him food in sacrifice and then partake of the remnants. In the Bhagavad Gita 3:13, it is confirmed that one who takes foodstuff after the performance of sacrifice eats real food for proper maintenance of the body and soul, but that one who cooks for himself and does not perform any sacrifice. Really? I did it just this morning. Oh, I did it too. I opened it too much. That was my fault. Our Rabbi Das Brahmachari is Mr. Reliability. Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you. There's noise and the windows were open, so we had to correct the situation. Okay, in the beginning of this paragraph, again, in the Bhagavad Gita, one sentence before, as a matter of gratitude, they should feel obliged to the Lord for their supply of foodstuff, and they must first offer Him food in sacrifice, and then partake of the remnants. In the Bhagavad Gita 3:13, it is confirmed that one who takes foodstuff after a performance of sacrifice eats real food for proper maintenance of the body and soul, but that one who cooks for himself and does not perform any sacrifice eats only lumps of sin in the shape of foodstuffs. Such sinful eating can never make one happy or free from scarcity. Famine is not due to an increase in population, as less intelligent economists think, but it is due to the ingratitude of human beings. When human society is grateful to the Lord for all his gifts for the maintenance of the living entities, there is certainly no scarcity or want in society. But when people are unaware of the intrinsic value of such gifts from the Lord, surely they will be in want. A person who has no God consciousness may live in opulence for the time being due to his past virtuous activities, but if he forgets his relationship with the Lord, certainly he must await the stage of starvation by the law of the powerful material nature. One cannot escape the vigilance of the powerful material nature unless he leads a God-conscious or devotional life. Prabhupada Ki Jai. Text 50. You are the original, personal founder of all the demigods and the orders of different gradations. Yet you are the oldest and are unchanged. O Lord, you have no source or superior. You have impregnated the external energy with the semen of the total living entities, yet you are unborn. Purport. The Lord, the original person, is the father of all other living entities, beginning from Brahma, the personality from whom all other living entities in different gradations of species are generated. Yet the Supreme Father has no other father. Every one of the living entities of all grades up to Brahma, the original creature of the universe, is begotten by a father, but he, the Lord, has no father. When he descends to the material plane, out of his causeless mercy, he accepts one of his great devotees as his father to keep pace with the rules of the material world. But since he is the Lord, he is always independent in choosing who will become his father. For example, the Lord came out of a pillar in his incarnation of Nrsingadev, and by the Lord's causeless mercy, Ahalya came out of a stone by the touch of the lotus feet of his incarnation, Lord Sri Ram. As the Supersoul, he is also the companion of every living entity, but he remains unchanged. The living entity changes his body in the material world, but even when the Lord is in the material world, he is ever unchanged. That is his prerogative. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 14.3, the Lord impregnates the external or material energy, and thus the total living entities later come out in different gradations, beginning from Brahma, the first demigod, down to the insignificant ant. All gradations of living entities are manifested by Brahma and the external energy, but the Lord is the original father of everyone. Therefore, the relationship of every living being with the Supreme Lord is certainly one of son and father, and not one of equality. Sometimes out of love, the son will become more than the father. But the basic relationship of father and son is one of superior and subordinate. Every living entity, however great he may be, even up to demigods like Brahma and Indra, is an eternally subordinate servitor of the Supreme Father. The Mahatma Principle is the generating source of all the modes of material nature, and the living entities take birth in the material world in bodies supplied by the mother, material nature, in terms of their previous work. The body is a gift of material nature, but the soul is originally part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. And we will stop here. It's almost 8 o'clock.
There's only one verse left.
One verse left. Our fact checker is Sri Abhaya Das Brahmachari, and he's informed me there's only one more verse of the chapter, so let us do it. Thank you, Abhaya. Text 51. O Supreme Self, please give us, who were created in the beginning from the Mahatattva, the total cosmic energy, your kind directions on how we shall act. Kindly award us your perfect knowledge and potency so that we can render you service in the different departments of subsequent creation. Purport. The Lord creates this material world and impregnates the material energy with the living entities who will act in the material world. All these actions have a divine plan behind them. The plan is to give the conditioned souls who desire to enjoy sense gratification a chance to do so. But there is another plan. Behind the creation, to give the living entities, to help the living entities realize that they are created for the transcendental sense gratification of the Lord, and not for their individual sense gratification. This is the constitutional position of the living entities. The Lord is one without a second, and He expands Himself into many for His transcendental pleasure. All the expansions, the Vishnu Tattvas, the Jiva Tattvas, and the Shakti Tattvas, the personalities of Godhead, the living entities, and the different potent energies, are different offshoots from the same one Supreme Lord. The Jiva Tattvas are separated expansions of the Vishnu Tattvas, and although there are differences in potency between the Jiva Tattvas and the Vishnu Tattvas, they are all meant for the transcendental sense gratification of the Supreme Lord. Some of the Jivas, however, wanted to lord it over material nature in imitation of the lordship of the personality of Godhead. Regarding when and why such propensities overcame the pure living entities, it can only be explained that the Jiva Tattvas have infinitesimal independence, and that due to misuse of this independence, some of the living entities have become implicated in the conditions of cosmic creation, and are therefore called Nitya-Buddhas, or eternally conditioned souls. The expansions of Vedic wisdom give the Nitya-Buddhas, the conditioned living entities, a chance to improve, and those who take advantage of such transcendental knowledge gradually regain their lost consciousness of rendering transcendental loving service to the Lord. The demigods are amongst the conditioned souls who have developed this pure consciousness of service to the Lord, but who at the same time continue to desire to lord it over the material energy. Such mixed consciousness puts the conditioned soul in the position of managing the affairs of this creation. The demigods are entrusted leaders of the conditioned souls, as some of the old prisoners in government jails are entrusted with some responsible work of prison management. So the demigods are improved in conditioned souls, acting as representatives of the Lord in the material creation. Such demigods are devotees of the Lord in the material world, and when completely free from all material desires to lord it over the material energy, they become pure devotees and have no desire but to serve the Lord. Therefore, any living entity who desires a position in the material world may desire to do so in the service of the Lord, and may seek power and intelligence from the Lord, as exemplified by the demigods in this particular verse. One cannot do anything unless he is enlightened and empowered by the Lord. The Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Matak Smritir Jnanam Apohanam Cha. All recollections, knowledge, etc., as well as all forgetfulness, are engineered by the Lord, who is sitting within the heart of everyone. The intelligent man seeks the help of the Lord, and the Lord helps the sincere devotees engaged in his multifarious services. The demigods are entrusted by the Lord with creating different species of living entities according to their past deeds. They are herein asking the favor of the Lord for the intelligence and power to carry out their task. Similarly, any conditioned soul may also engage in the service of the Lord under the guidance of an expert spiritual master, and thus gradually become freed from the entanglement of material existence. The spiritual master is the manifested representative of the Lord, and anyone who puts himself under the guidance of his spiritual master and acts accordingly is said to be acting in terms of Buddha Yoga, as explained in the Bhagavad Gita 2:41. Vyavasayapika buddhir ekeha kudunandana bahusha kayanantascha buddhayo vyavasayinam. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the third canto, 5th chapter of Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled Viduras Talks with Maitreya. All glories to Vidura, who heard directly from Krishna just before he left this body the words that were intended for Uddhava. And Maitreya is now explaining what the Lord said to Vidura. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Okay, we'll stop here. And that was text 51. Here we go. We'll start text 1 tomorrow, chapter 6. Okay, we're ready to hear from the reflections of all the assembled sages and their appreciations of this great transcendental literature, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and what we just read today.
Okay, first it's from Gopakanya Devi Dasi.
Okay, Gopakanya Devi Dasi, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear Maharaj, and all assembled sages. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and his transcendental books.
Jai, all glories to the transcendental literatures given to us by Srila Prabhupada.
And from Rati Manjari.
Yes, Rati Manjari, Haribo, Haribo.
Jai Guru Maharaj, the sacred sounds abound.
Ah, sacred sounds of?
Abound.
Abound, yes, they are abounding. Abounding all around, okay.
From Bhakta Christopher.
Bhakta Christopher, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj and assembled devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai, His divine grace, ki jai.
And Sudevi Dasi says Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Sudevi Dasi, Haribo. We hope things are peaceful over there in Florida. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
From Rati Manjari.
Yes, Rati.
Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my grateful obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you for reading every day, and for always inviting us to speak on the sacred subject matter. It is such a nice exercise to spiritualize our thoughts and conversations.
Yes, absolutely. That's the whole name of the game, as we say in America. It's the name of the game. Spiritualize our thoughts by hearing the transcendental and speaking the transcendental descriptions of the Lord's transcendental pastimes with the devotees. Full life. You know, they have that saying, get a life, you know. They say that to the devotees who don't have a job, you know. They can't understand how we can live so nicely without earning a living by, you know, what's the word, becoming slaves of their international, multinational corporation leaders. Hare Krishna. They can't understand that it's Krishna that's maintaining everyone. Only by hearing this Bhagavatam nicely can we understand fully how it is that Krishna is maintaining everyone.
And from Gemma?
Yes, Gemma. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
And from Subarao Rajagopal?
Yes, Subarao. Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances and all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you for bringing out the rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths through your reading. Daily readings Ki Jai.
Jai Ho. Thank you very much for that deep appreciation. Hare Krishna.
And from Rati Manjari?
Yes, Rati. Go ahead.
Tonight's reading I found to be another series of transcendental statements by Srila Prabhupada. It felt like he was hurling spiritual weapons across the ether, all meant to awaken the higher awareness of the living entities, that we are all Krishna's servants.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, and even the original demigods that are created at the time of the Mahatattva, we haven't even gotten to the universe yet. We're just in the sarga, the beginning of the creation by the Lord Himself of all the creative energies. And among those are the demigods who are in charge of those elements. Even they have to pray to the Lord for the intelligence to their service. What to speak of us? Hare Krishna.
This is also from Rati Manjari. I especially laughed at how His Divine Grace said that the topic of consciousness is explained in just a few moments, but the impersonalists have to suffer through many difficulties for many years, only to end up in the sky.
Yeah, that was a good one. That's a very good one. Yes. Of course, it takes, from our side, it takes the intelligence given to us by the mercy of the Lord, to understand the absolute truth in a few minutes. Imagine, in the middle of a battlefield, Krishna delivered the Bhagavad Gita to the world. Just before the battle was beginning. It's inconceivable. Yeah. Hare Krishna. When we think of the Bhagavad Gita, we think of a 700-page or 800 or 1,000-page book. But if you just take out the Devanagari and what was actually spoken without the purports, Imagine how intelligent Arjuna was to be able to get the whole truth and nothing but the truth just from the verses that Krishna spoke. Amazing. Truly amazing.
Rati Manjari. But the devotees very easily enter into the spiritual planets of transcendental enjoyments,
Yes.
serving the supremely blissful person, simply by hearing about him.
Yes. Prabhupada always makes it sound so easy and so simple, simply by hearing about him. But we have to hear about him. As Jesus Christ said, let those who have ears hear. So it's not enough just to hear the sound. Although it's a fact that if you just put yourself in the front, in the way of the sound, you will get purified. Without a shadow of a doubt, you will get purified. It's all organized by Lord Chaitanya.
And from Subbarao.
Yes, Subbarao.
Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 12:5, for those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome.
Yes.
To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied.
Yes, because when we're in the body and conditioned by the modes of nature and the material body, we can't think of anything beyond the body. Therefore Krishna says in the Gita itself, Tat bhavit tu mahabaho. By receiving this knowledge from outside of the actions and reactions of the modes of nature, we get the intelligence and the knowledge to be able to choose devotional service over sense gratification. In other words, we can see the difference. This is transcendental knowledge. To be able to see the difference ourselves between the body and the soul, between the spiritual energy and the material energy, between the spiritual world and the material world. Then we can know how to act. Then we can know what is right and what is wrong. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
From Rati Manjari.
Yes, Rati, go on, girl, go on.
Thank you for giving us these daily shots of transcendental wisdom, thus enabling us to make progress on this divine path.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Samabeda Bhakta Brinda ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. See you tomorrow night. Same time, same place, and same topic as we go deeper. Now we'll go from the Sarga to the Visarga. The creation is going to go on. See you tomorrow. Hare Krishna.